All right. Hello, everyone. This is LBM Podcast. See, I already screwed it up.
That's right. We got some outtakes. Alec, if you shut that off, I'll break your toes.
All right. I'm not used to starting over here.
Jeez,
Hello, everyone. This is Phil Fernaro, and this is Lightbulb Moments. It's all about the energy. And the funny part about this is that we're evolving the podcast, and this is take 2. We had some of the best content known to the humankind a couple minutes ago between me and Nick Dubak. But hey, guess what? Hopefully we could recreate it as he just said. And even if we don't, it's fine. We'll get some other good stuff as we go along. So here we go. We have 2 guests here today, Nick Dubak and from Dubak Electrical and many other companies. We'll talk about that as we go along. And Frank Filec. I'll call him Frankie because he's my cousin. I knew him from his birthday, his very first birthday. And actually when he was born. I don't know how that works, and people call him Frank Filec, and he's got a business here locally in Construction Partners, Inc. And this is exciting because we're finally getting to do this great podcast in a video format. I know we did one at my office, which was episode 87 with Kevin Colley, but this one is even better because we've been talking about it for a while. We'll talk about this shortly, but we're at what I like to call, and you've been hearing about this in many podcasts, the famous Dewire Studios out of LaGrange, Illinois. And Nick was so kind to allow us to come here today and do this podcast format. And special thanks to Alec Rodriguez, who, despite him making us do this a second time, has done a great job and is going to produce a great podcast here. And I'll leave that to you, Alec. You're the editor, so you can decide to remove or keep that in. So anyway, here's why I'm liking this format is because we haven't done very many. Actually, this is our second time where we did a 3-person podcast. The last one was David Prescott and Michael Ashley in episode 85. So that episode we did 3 people, and this is going to be very exciting too because I've always thought about it. I think this since episode 21 when I was with Doug Sandler and Jack Fernaro, my son. And we talked about maybe bringing the young people in to talk to the more seasoned veteran entrepreneurs. And sometimes that format will bring in some new light bulb moments for not only our older members of our podcast, our Bright community, but for the younger ones as well, because I know they're listening now. It was a great story. I talked to Scott Turrell, or texted with Scott Turrell, and Scott said, hey, guess what? I listened to your podcast the other day, and I used some of the techniques during an interview that I had. And that really hit home. And that means that, hey, maybe we've got something here. Maybe we've got to meld the old with the new, and not to call you old, Nick, but the older and the new to see how they can help each other grow. And we'll keep this format and see how it goes. All right. So anyway, I'm glad Alec didn't take it because I enjoyed that entryway better.
It was good. A good second entry.
Yeah, now the pressure's on you.
Oh, there's no pressure here, man.
So let's talk a little bit about how we came to this Dewire Studio.
Yeah.
What was this all about? How did you create that?
Yeah, so this building, our Hayes building, was always supporting marketing and media, and we wanted to focus this building around a lot of our content development for the company and the organization. We're like, hey, it would be really cool to have a podcasting area. And we did actually finish out a podcasting area. And today's the first time we're ever using it. So it's exciting. It's been sitting for almost, I'd say better than 2 years, maybe even longer in this just dormant status. We've got breakout conference rooms. We've got some huddle rooms here and some, inspiration space for our company marketing. But this was a foundational piece of what we wanted to do within Dubak Electrical, and then we're like, well, let's call it Dewire Studios. It sounds so cool, and it's fitting, and we can get the local business community in here, and LaGrange Business Association, West Suburban Chamber, those kind of guys, use this as a tool for folks, the small business guys in town. It's kind of a cool way to be able to give back and share some space to them, because everybody's got content they want to develop, right? So that was the catalyst, and we were talking, you and I, in New York, or before New York.
Yeah, so this was a great part of the story, and this is now the light bulb moments are all coming together here, right? It was talking about this in March of 2024. Right. I think that was about the month, right. And we just started. I said, "Hey, I'm doing a." No. This is how it started. We said, "Hey, You said we were at the Rotary event. You were winning the Rotarian of the Year, or no, Business Community Person of the Year.
Yes.
I think we were at the Elm, and
Yep.
we were talking, chatting, and there was a lull, and you said, "Hey, what are you doing on Thursday?" And it was a Tuesday, and I said, "I don't know, nothing." He goes, You said I'm going to New York, and I said, "Oh, that's cool." He goes, "You want to go?" I said, "Yes, I do want to go." We jumped on the plane,
Yep.
right, and then we were
Yep.
there, and we had a wonderful time.
Yes.
And then when did we start talking? I think we started talking about you were explaining the studio, and I said, "Hey, I'm going to do a podcast," and then it all sort of ran from
Yeah,
there.
I think we were. I don't know if we were at Keen's Steakhouse or we were the follow up at the cigar bar. It was one of those two. And,
Yeah.
and we just. I think it was a cigar bar. The ideas just started juicing and flowing. So.
Yeah, and it was like when I was thinking about it, as I processed the fact that we're here today was sort of like an evolution of how the podcast went. It took a little while to get up and running, but then this was always sort of a goal of mine, and to be in the studio. So,
Right on. So what episode is this?
So, God, it's episode. We'll have to fill it in later. I think it's 106, 107, 108, something like that.
So it took 100 episodes plus to get to this point. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And it felt like yesterday we were talking about it, which is crazy.
I couldn't believe it was last March.
Yep.
So anyway, so that's good. So now we're here at the Dewire Studio, and you want to give a little teaser to what our next big event here is going to be about?
Oh, wow. Our next event here is supposed to be when? When are we doing it?
Yeah, probably August. Yeah, because you'll be out of town. I'm going to be out of
Get
town.
a bunch of wise guys together?
Yeah.
Let's just leave it at that.
The Wise Guys Roundtable.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, we're
Wise
going to
guy round table.
we're going to talk about it.
At the Dewire.
The Dewire Studio. So Frankie Filec, you must be a glutton for punishment coming on this podcast.
Yeah, thanks for cornering me on this one. I appreciate it.
So this was a good one. So Frankie's been a listener of the podcast, and we were at the I called him one night. I said, "Hey, let's go to Stadium Club. Let's get some happy hour because his business is right across the street here in McCook. You're in McCook? Or
Brookfield.
Brookfield. We're in McCook here. McCook in Stadium Club, and we went across, and of course Nick Dubak was there, and was someone. Anthony Sarno was there with us too, right?
Yeah, Anthony.
So, I was looking at the menu and I said, "Hey, let's have some." We sat down, we started talking. But you two had met before, right?
Yeah, we had met at one of your networking events at Postal 31. So that's where I was first introduced to Nick.
Yeah, and we were. It was the funniest thing because I always like to Lou Jack people as much as I can. So. You guys started talking about business, and it was a really, really cool conversation. And I like it when I can just sit back and listen and talking about people. I think we were talking about a TWIC or something like that, some licensing, and and you were talking about your business, and I said this would make a perfect podcast. And I know that if I stressed you out in such a way that you have to say yes.
Yeah, you squeezed him pretty hard.
Yeah,
you did cave quick.
Yeah, I found saying no to Phil gets difficult sometimes, but he is a lawyer, so he makes some pretty compelling points. And you find yourself saying yes to things. And I was on my way home, and I'm like, I just commit myself to going on a podcast.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Listen,
but I do appreciate it.
I like the way Frank walked in today, completely unfiltered, work boots, straight out of the field, no bullshit. What you see is what you get, and that's what I think is awesome. So, and it reminds me of a lot of my early days when I had to, be that guy in the same day, and you're the project manager, you're the worker, you're the everything in the same day, and I miss those days. So that's awesome. You remind me a lot of myself when I was young.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Oh, first I want to, before I get into that, there's no, for sure, was the idea that you said Coco, your wife, would be very happy about this podcast.
Yeah, she was a little envious when she found out I was getting to go on a podcast before her. I think she's more made for it than I am, but yeah, she was asking me when she was going to be on next, and I said, I don't know. You're going to have to take that up with Phil.
All right. Well, we'll definitely talk to her, and I think the last time I talked to Coco, she got me cocoed.
Yeah.
With that weird drink that she made with vodka and something
Yeah,
else.
no, that would make a lot of sense, but be prepared for a 4-hour conversation, you and your listeners, if you get her.
I like it.
Frank and I were probably, with all the TWICs and the transportation cards and all that credentials we were subjected to, I don't think any of us will be lighting a joint on this podcast.
No, I don't think that's a good business plan.
Just to lay that out, Phil. I don't know what Phil's expectations were here. But,
well, before we get it, let's talk a little bit about. Now I see you took me down this road.
I'm really good at just just derailing Phil. This is what it's about.
Yeah, I have to follow the mind. So so before we talk about your business, because I think that'll lead to some pretty intense conversation, is that I was at the Burke Beverage golf outing the other day, and they have it's Burke Beverage, right? Their distribution, so they have all the different types of drinks. And I was on the 10th hole, and they had these, what is it, koozie,
Hmm.
thing called a Senorita. And the lady goes, this has got THC. There's one with or without. I go, yeah, I don't know. Give me whatever you want. So I took one, and then I took another one for my bag. So I never looked at the THC content, and apparently there were 5 milligrams or whatever it is each. When I tell you that I had no idea I had no idea what I was doing. I'm not a guy that gets high either, right? So I'm here on the at dinner. John Rott's telling me a story about something, and I go, I was ready to respond. I had this great response, and I go, "What did you say?" And then he told me again, and I said, "Yeah, I gotta go home."
Check in silence. Well done, Phil.
So,
Finaro.
so tell me, you said there was a local presence of THC.
Yeah, I see the moms in the area. My wife's bringing it home. It's called Hightail. I don't know anything about it. I don't. I've heard it's a local purveyor. Might be somebody you want to look up. They're stumbling down the streets in Indian Head Park, hightailing it. So,
Oh, well, that's
whatever that
kind of
means.
cool.
So,
All right, we'll look into that. We'll reach out. Maybe that'll be good. I'd
There
like
you
to
go.
get the local businesses obviously
yeah,
on.
of
Maybe
course.
a
Why
nice one.
not?
There you go.
It looks like a great product. I mean, it's legit for sure. So,
That's great. So, Frankie, tell me a little bit about your business. What do you do, and how'd you get here?
Yeah, so we acquired the company almost a year ago in October. Really, we focus on it. On paper, we're industrial contractors, but we always like to joke and say that we're problem solvers for people. Um, the industries we work in, they have a lot of different issues that a lot of different contractors won't touch. Whether it's due to the complexity of it or it's just something that most people don't have the infrastructure or subcontractors or in-house personnel that they can do. That's kind of where we thrive, is where we come in, and there's a lot of times where we're pretty much given prints on a napkin and they're like, hey, this is what we want to do. Can you make it happen? We've asked other people, they can't do it. And, we'll come in and we'll take care of it for them. And that's kind of where our company, sits in like a niche industry type.
Got it. Going
Yeah.
where other people aren't.
Yep.
Because that's a tough part of the industry, is making and solving people's problems that really isn't blueprinted, right?
No, yeah, it's always fun when kind of have to make people's realities come true when they don't even have an idea of what the realities are. Um, and it's interesting because it's never cut and dry. It's not like I'm coming to work every day doing the same thing. It's every day's a different problem with just requires a different skill set and different. So
It's kind of exciting too, though.
oh, it's never boring. It's as a young entrepreneur, it's very exciting, and it's get a lot of good knowledge out of it every day that I feel like would take people a lifetime to do. I'm getting a crash course.
Yeah. Well, that's all. That's what the young entrepreneur. You're not seeing everything again and again.
No, right.
You've seen it for the first time, then you see it again,
Right.
when it comes up later. So tell me, before we switch to get some background from Nick here, is you had a very nice job, right, in Forest View. You were growing fast. I mean, you were the young, probably the youngest public works director there. What tore you away from that comfort?
Um, yeah, I was in the public sector for close to 8 years. I enjoyed it. I did. Met a lot of great people, worked with a lot of great departments, had some really good mentors throughout the towns I worked in. And it's actually like one of those light bulb moments, that when I first got hired, my foreman at the time came up to me and he said, "Well," he goes, "Congratulations." He goes, "You got a spot that a lot of people would want at such a young age." Um, he said, "You're never going to be rich. You're never going to be poor." He goes, "Your life's always going to kind of be in the middle. Like you'll make a good living." He goes, "But don't expect to be rich, but you're not going to be poor." And at the time, I really didn't take much stock in that. I was kind of just like, "Yeah, okay, it's just a job. I'll probably end up doing this for the rest of my career at this village." And um, as time progressed, I had switched departments a few times to move up in the ladder, and I kind of realized that the public sector, just that type of job in general, felt a little bit boxed in for me. And my my dad's an entrepreneur, and so you see what kind of freedom that they have, working potential earnings and all of that. And as time went on, I kind of realized that entrepreneurship is probably closer aligned to my goals than what a career in the public sector.
Very nice. You guys like a professional podcast
Nice, natural.
guest. I
He's
mean,
a natural.
yeah, maybe we should just sit and talk some more.
Thank
That's
you.
very nice. And it's interesting too. So you decided not to go, and I've been a big advocate of going into the trades, early on in career. And I always talk about my good friend Tim Leahy, who went to ComEd right after, and then my other buddy James Rowe, who went to the UP. They didn't go to college, and they dove right into the industry. And a couple good benefits from that, A, no debt, and B, you're earning faster, and
Right.
C, you get into the world a little bit quicker. I mean, is there any validity to those things?
Oh no, absolutely. It was it definitely makes you grow up quicker. You start working some crazy hours and you're around I say adults, but you're around, older men at a young age. It definitely makes you a man very quick. Um and you learn a lot of things, and it was really great experience. And I don't think I would be where I'm at today if I hadn't gone through that. So I think that was in my idea, kind of my college, being in the workforce until that point.
Very nice. All right, well, cool. We'll come back to you. Nick Dubak, tell me a little
Yeah.
bit about the empire you built.
I don't know if it's an empire, but
Oh, I love it. That's what I call it.
So, all right, there you have it. So, I listened to Frank talk about, the entrepreneurship and the freedom. Some days it feels like jail to me. I don't know.
You're right.
So I'm trying to identify what he's talking about, or maybe he's drinking senoritas at
No.
work. I don't know.
No,
what's going on.
It should be noted that I am a fresh entrepreneur, so
Yeah,
this is all based off of very limited
Yeah.
knowledge.
Yeah.
So
some nights feel like you're late, you were out late and putting a bid together, and you wake up at your desk, or maybe you didn't sleep at all. It's like a cot in a jail cell. But all kidding aside, it's been a hell of a ride. It's been a rough ride. It's been a great ride. It's been and all of that sometimes in the same day. But that's what entrepreneurship is, right? And you kind of have those moments of the difficult moments make you appreciate the great moments, and at the end of the day, we're building teams, right? And we're building people and processes, and really about me. I started in the company. There was 5 of us
Yeah.
in the mid '90s, and now there's over 400 people. Fast forwarding today, kudos to my dad. I got to give him a plug, Val Dubak. He's the one that gave me the opportunity to do things that I thought we needed to do, whether they were right or wrong in his perspective at the time. And he afforded me the ability to make mistakes. I probably have made, 5 Harvard educations worth of mistakes as far as cost is concerned. But I didn't serve a day there, right? So that's what this business breeds is if you're strong, you come out stronger. And flipping back to what you guys are talking about, the college, and do you go to college? Do you go to the trades? What do you do? In this time, we've been able to, as an organization, develop our people, but also put in play at Dubak University is our apprenticeship program. It's where apprentice electricians can come, apply, get admitted, and get sponsored by us as an apprentice electrician for a 4-year apprenticeship. Earn while you learn. That whole model's in play. That's in both in LaGrange in Chicago and in Indianapolis. We've got our active apprenticeship programs. It's been a huge part of our business and the growing need for tradesmen. I saw statistics, something like in the next couple of years, we're going to need, over 500,000 up to 800,000 electricians. Plumbers are in a bad position, sheet metal workers, pipe fitters, welders. I mean, the list goes on and on. So the trades are starving for fresh young talent, and The challenge is the other statistic is in the next 5 years, our construction industry, as we know it, our industrial construction marketplace, will evolve and change more than in the past 50 years. So my father, whole life, 50 years in this business, the industry will change more in the next 5 years than his entire career.
Is that why is that?
It's everything. It's technology. It's the coupling of technology and tooling and trades and the evolution of infrastructure. There's so many changes that are going on that are driving the industries in the marketplace to change, shift, pivot. So markets move quick, technology moves quick, data centers, AI, you name it. It's all driving the force behind the need for new skill sets, expanded trades. It's really an interesting metric.
So that's now this is sort of confusing. This is sort of a and the switch is ready to go off, but I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
What is so you have to have all more workers, right? You have to have build up this knowledge base of workers, but are they actually building up the structure so that they'll be displaced? Is that the process, or will this 5 year acceleration of 50 years will that then continue on for a period of time?
I don't think you're removing workers because A, you don't have them, and B, everything we do needs wire, right? It needs to be wired. It needs to be connected. It needs to be hooked up. It needs to be maintained. It needs to be upgraded. It's going to sustain obsolescence much faster. So I feel like we're not training our people to be eliminating themselves. We're really training them up to take on a new higher skill set that's going to eventually be needed. We've got folks that that are out there programming robotics and programming entire production facilities and production lines with our engineering and controls team. I mean, we've got a bunch of different segments within our organization that speak to the technology play of what started as a traditional electrical construction company in the industrial sector and has evolved into industrial electrical construction, HVAC mechanical systems, robotics, controls engineering, automation of systems, training your own people with the university. I mean, we've done so much to push forward with keeping up with the evolving marketplace of skill sets that are needed. So,
Got it. You got a lot of work to do, Frankie.
Yeah, that's
it's a mouthful. I'm
yeah,
sorry,
that's
man.
No, in terms of getting to that point, but Nick also started at,
Right.
at this level. So before we go on, I want to ask you a couple of questions and follow up with what Nick said. But so how do we change this dynamic? It's like whenever it started with my kids, right? It's like I say, hey, listen, let's do something else. Let's forget the college for now. Let's figure out some other things. But it's the dynamic of that pressure to go to school. Is like, how do you think that will change?
Look, it's got to start with our schools. I'm so glad you opened this door because our high schools locally, and this is like one of my missions this year, our high schools locally, they've got rid of work programs. There used to be a program at LT called Industrial Related Occupations, gone, because I don't know if the students stopped wanting to go to work, stopped showing up. I don't know where that fell off and why. But those were programs when I was going to high school in the late 90s. Those were programs that gave us a view into the world of industry, into the world of work, where you would go to school, you'd leave at 11 a.m., and you'd show up for work, and you'd work 4 hours or 5 hours or 20 hours a week or whatever they signed you up for, whether that was pushing carts at Home Depot, whether that was working the plumbing aisle there, whether that was, in my case, working at Dubak Electrical in the shop. There was other guys they had, if I remember correctly, auto mechanic shops and other industrially related occupations, and there was a separate group that did office related occupation in a separate group of classes, and these were awesome feeders for the real world because not everyone's going to college, right? And not every child is destined for college, and there's so many certificate programs and of folks that are coming out earning 6 figures plus.
That's
I
awesome.
mean, if you know how to get into a trade and do your job really well and learn from really skilled tradespeople and go to good programs, you're going to make yourself a lot of money. And if you think about the average kid who's racking up college debt every year, I don't know how much it costs these days,
No, it's
30, 40 grand a year,
yeah,
you know.
sometimes more.
And if you're not going to be a doctor, you're not going to be an attorney, I think there's a lot to be said for, hey, there's a lot of other options available to students in terms of education and supplementing that and getting into a certificate program and getting into a trade and getting into a medical program that's a medical assistant or nurse or whatever. It doesn't always require you to go to those 4, 5, 6, 8 year degree programs in some cases, depending on how long you're going to be in school for and what you're aiming to get done.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely something that we have to consider, and a lot of the population has to consider it. So Frankie, I mean, you're the generation that was sort of the push, college, college, college.
Right.
How did you decide that it was okay to break away from that philosophy? 'Cause that
Ye-
was probably a pressure situation for you, or maybe it wasn't.
Yes and no. I was enrolled in Triton. I actually had my class schedule set. And because of like ACT scores and grades, I wasn't going to pay for my first 2 years of school. Um, and I actually went there and filled out my schedule, and I got done. And I looked at my schedule, and I called my mom, and I was like, I don't know if I could do this. I just looked at the schedule, and I didn't know what I wanted to go to school for. I didn't know really what I wanted to do, and I'd worked for the village, since I was 16 over the summer, and um, my parents were, they were, they were supportive whichever way I went, as long as I had a plan and goals on, what I was going to do if it wasn't going to be college. And then, like I said, it ended up working out because I got hired full time pretty much right out of high school. But yeah, I mean, as far as, the push for higher education when I was in high school, it was definitely, I feel like, a lot more prevalent even than it is now. I was an anomaly not going to college. I mean, I had a bunch of friends. They went away to school and they actually ended up coming back home after not finishing school and ended up going into the trades.
Oh,
But I've got a cousin who's a second year pipe fitter apprentice, and he's got like 6 or 7 friends out of high school that went straight to the trades out of high school. So I think you might be starting to see a slight shift and towards not in the school system maybe, but individually or in the homes of people around that maybe you know the 6 figures you're going to spend on a college degree that you don't even know you're going to use doesn't beat what a trade give you.
I think we've got to get the educators on board with with hey, you guys want your iPhones, you want all this shit. Well, guess what? Everything we're building powers all of that.
sure does.
And if we're not putting out skilled trade craft people, which are far more advanced than anything of the 60s and 70s tradespeople, these people are, our tradespeople are not running around with a pipe wrench every day. They're running around with a laptop, with an iPad. They're programming intelligent devices after they wire them. Are pliers, screwdrivers, pipe wrenches, welders, are those still tools? Absolutely. It's far more advanced than we as an industry get credit for. That pisses me off.
Yeah, I don't think that
And the educators got to get on board at the high school level and understand and believe. So I invite them all to tour our facilities and our training buildings. I know some of the curriculum folks at LT have been through. They come through on manufacturing day to the DoFab facility on LaGrange Park on Barnesdale. But it's something they all got to get on board with. They've got to understand. You've got students sitting in your classrooms that have unbelievable vision and unbelievable hand-eye coordination, and they love working with their hands. And they may not be able to do the textbook problem the right way or test the right way, but they can go outside of those doors and do amazing things. And they need to be talent scouts for that.
See that break community? I got them riled up. I
Yeah,
didn't
he
even
did.
know the question was
Yeah,
doing it.
yeah, he
That's
did.
the energy we're talking about.
It
break.
pisses me off.
so, so I think I need to get an educator on here with Nick next time and see how that works out. So,
Sure, someone you
You'll
like.
go viral. You'll go viral for sure on that.
so you're going to say something, Frankie?
No, I was just gonna say I don't think the average person realizes that, it's like Nick said, the tradesman of today versus the tradesman, how many years ago. I mean, we just did a steel fabrication project, and the way that the iron workers were doing the math in their heads to make their calculations for their cuts and their angles. I mean, I it's just unbelievable that, when people, I think the misconception about trades is that's, it was always that's the last resort. You didn't go to school, you went to the trades. I just don't think people realize how skilled labor really.
And not only that, but like optics, lasers, computers, it all goes in. These guys are out there and they're laying out lasers all over the place. And you'd come into a construction site, you think you're in laser tag, you know what I'm saying? Because it aids everything we do. And then I'll give a plug out to Alec again. Alec's our drone pilot. Guess what? We're flying drones on our sites and we're collecting data. And Alex shout out at us. Did you think you'd ever be doing what you're doing now? Documenting and aiding some of that stuff.
Absolutely. That was a shift.
Yeah. So I mean, we're the data collection aspect of it, and then what his drones are going to look like in 5 years, and the apparatus that are on them are going to quantify the amount of work installed. There's already drones out there that do it. There's hard hats. There's helmets that do these 360 scans. We have people out there doing these individualized jobs. And if you have the base foundation of the tradesman, you can go out there and now I can pivot and say, you know what? I installed this work for 20 years or even 10 years. I want to go be a total station operator, which is taking the building information model, the computerized model of it, and laying out the work for the tradesman because I know how to install it.
Interesting.
And there's an interface there that's being completely missed and underappreciated, undervalued, and unidentified.
Holy cow. So, how did Alec get out of not being on the camera? We have to for next time we have to have a camera
He needs
here.
to be, you can be Alec like Frankie is for Portnoy on the pizza reviews. Nobody ever knows who the guy is, but he's out there. He shouts out a couple.
Young Jamie from the group.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's all happening. It's the light bulb moments is growing.
We'll never
see?
show your face, Alec. Even though you're probably the best looking guy out of all of us.
That's
There you go.
That's definitely. So anyway,
I digress.
we digress. So some of the things Nick's saying here, is any of this sort of like a little bit foreign to you, or I mean, is there things that you would go, oh my goodness, this is something that I didn't really understand or know?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't have known how in depth and how technologically advanced the work you guys perform is.
Yep.
Not, what you guys do is definitely not in the same wheelhouse as the work that we perform, but it does, hold true that everything is upgrading. It far surpasses what I think traditional business owners are used to. And I think that like the way you're going about training your people and not looking at it as, they start at year one and what they learn by year 5 is going to be irrelevant. You're kind of training them for the future. And I think that business model is definitely very admirable. It's making me think about how I'm going to have to do that. And
Well, there's
in
some
the future.
stats because
Yeah.
that we run out. There's in our world, it was unheard of. There's a contractor that has a manufacturing component to his business because markets are speeding up, right? And everything we do is speed to market. So if I can't manufacture pieces of a project, fabricate and deliver them to the project in speed to market fashion, then we're not going to have a place in this market. And what I'm saying by what I really mean by that is the statistic is those guys that fail to have a manufacturing component to execute large scale or hyperscale type projects, those contractors that don't have that component in their business, they'll cease to exist over the next decade. And they'll be nothing more than a mom and pop service provider and a service shop. They're not going to get into these large, call it hyperscale projects, data center projects, large manufacturing projects, industrial advanced manufacturing, all this stuff that happens fast. You hear about multi-billion-dollar jobs, and the project's going to be done in 24 months or less. It takes real infrastructure to deliver on that. And those guys that don't have it today aren't going to exist in 10 years in the competitive market landscape.
Well, let's talk about that. How do you get to that point? I mean, obviously this has been a long process to get to where you are now, and it might take a little while to approach it. But it was very telling when Frankie said, "Yeah, you didn't see some of those things that we were talking about." So for him to sort of understand that as a young entrepreneur, then he sees the bigger picture. Whereas maybe when we were first starting out, we didn't have that luxury
It was
or that benefit.
The one thing about being an entrepreneur is you got to have drive, right? And you got to have vision, and you've got to want to be there. So if you have a drive and a vision to be better and want to aspire to be something, an organization of a particular size, scope, stature, you got to have vision, and you got to have inspiration, and you got to be able to think outside the box. And that person who has the vision and can deploy it with a team is going to be the one that's most successful, right? And so you got to figure out what your vision is and chase your vision, what you want to be, and make sure it's relevant to your company's existence.
Absolutely.
How long did it take you to figure out what your vision was? Did it change?
The vision evolves, right? And once you kind of get to a certain point, you're like, oh, well, this was totally achievable. Let's take it to the next level. And you kind of keep moving the goalpost as you go. And what was interesting for me was about 24 months ago, we kind of did some strategic planning. And where I was at as an organization, I'm like, we kind of wanted to be this as an organization. And the team came to me and they go, we want more. We want to grow.
Oh.
We want to grow this. And we think we can do X, Y, and Z to help the organization achieve a new scale and a new level that we didn't think was going to be possible. And we believe we can do it. And it wasn't even about me. The vision took on its own life with the team.
How were you expecting that?
I wasn't. They totally blindsided
There's a
me.
light bulb moment.
But I think that came with some servant leadership. And in our industry, construction is all about servant leadership. And are you familiar with that model?
Why don't you explain it?
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
You help grow your team by being. What can I do to help you?
In our world,
I wanted you to take it.
Well, and I want to see. I want to understand your perspective.
And was it wrong?
It's a little different than that in our world.
All right. We'll
and
see,
what a servant leader does.
So Bright Community. This is I bring guests on that try to embarrass me.
No, it wasn't at all. It's everyone has a different perspective on it, right?
I'm just kidding.
But servant leadership in our world is when things go bad and things don't come out right. Whose fault is it?
Yeah, there you go.
It's my fault.
Yeah.
Whether it was the team behind me or not, at the end of the day, it's me. It's my name on the door. It's my fault.
That's right.
Okay. When things go great, I don't take the credit for that. I was lucky enough to have a great team around me, and they were the ones that did the work, and they were the ones that did the lifting, and they were the ones that took it to the end zone, right? So that's what we want to breed in our organization as a culture. Is servant leadership.
See that? I totally blew that one, Bright Community. So. Thanks for the explanation. That's great. I've heard that before. I didn't know it was called servant.
That's basically what our definition of servant leader is.
No, so couldn't agree more. And obviously it stands to show that if you have a team that's so bought in that they go above and beyond what your expectations are, that they present their vision to you, it means that as a leader. Obviously, it shows that your business model and the way you go about serving your team is working.
It's a must in construction. In the services sector, it's a must, and it's the only way you're gonna gain team behind you that you need. And those, when you take that kind of approach with your people, what will they do? They will run through brick walls for you.
So that's interesting. So you've heard a bunch of things now from Nick, and is there something that's brewing in your head that you're gonna maybe do differently now or take next steps?
Do I look confused? Is that why?
No, not any more than usual. So
Yeah, you're probably right. No, I think like I said, I've been lucky enough. Shout out to my dad for being able to kind of prep me for this. You know, been exposed to the construction world my entire life. So while it's relatively new to me, the concepts of leadership, as far as being a servant leader, definitely aren't foreign to me. Um, it's just it's nice to see you know other people besides him saying that, because I think when you hear it from outside people, sometimes it not always whether it's a parent or the mentor that you had, it reaffirms that's the business model or the leadership style that obviously works. But I did want to ask you a question to follow up. Have you ever dealt with a company the same size of like as yours or whatnot, that you've met leadership that don't use the same leadership style?
Yeah, I think that exists all over the country, right? I think a lot of that has to do with either inexperienced leaders or leaders that truly don't lead, and um, those teams become fragmented, right, over
Right.
time, and it's hard to keep that together if you don't take a cohesive approach.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but you started talking about your dad, and then I started thinking about my dad and like all the moments I've had with him, and I know Phil had notes, oh, got mentors. We should probably look at who those mentors were. My dad was for sure a mentor for me, but I never worked anywhere else, right? So
Right.
I was blessed enough to be able to work with a lot of large organizations that gave me access to their executives. And you kind of learn people, and you're like, I like what this guy does, and I like how he handles this, and I like how he executes that way. But I might be a subcontractor for that group, right? So you kind of learn with some seasoned folks, and then you learn at the guys. You see what they shouldn't be doing, and you're like, oh, this guy's a hot mess, and I'm gonna run from him like he's got a disease, I mean,
Sure.
you see some of those people, but I start thinking about um, the things that I learned throughout the industry and growing up, and there was this one time we had an apprentice back in. I'm gonna go back into the late '90s, early 2000s. I was a young guy, and there was a guy, in the construction industry, tradesmen call in favors. Another tradesman,
Hell yeah.
yeah. Let's say he's a carpenter. I don't want my kid to be a carpenter. I want to be an electrician.
Right.
I want you to hire him. And it was a tradesman, and called in the favor to my dad. He goes, all right, we're going to hire this kid. And at the end of the day, he wasn't cut for the trades, and some people aren't cut for the trades.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget my dad, and this is where the podcast can get a little funny, I think. It was unfiltered trades back then, and my dad knew this kid's dad, so it was like two buddies. He goes, I want to kick your ass, kid, because you got two left feet. He goes, but I'm not going to kick your ass because I'm going to kick your dad's ass for not teaching you anything.
I
And
love it.
no
Sounds a
truer
lot
words,
like our dad.
Yeah.
No
no
kidding.
truer
Oh, yeah.
words have ever existed.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so to the dads out there, teach your kids something.
That's right.
That's it. And I plug to Steve Palmer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The struggles of he goes, this generation doesn't know how to use a broom. He goes, I got to teach them how to sweep into a pile. I'll never forget just having a discussion with somebody about the use of a broom, because it's a lost art. It's a lost art. They look at it and they're like, what do I do with
What's
this?
this
What is this broom?
Yeah.
It's like how do I use that? So there's a lot of fundamentals that are missing these days for
Well,
sure.
we know that my son Joey knows how to use a broom because
Yeah, we do.
You made it. How big was that warehouse he
Yeah,
swept?
I had for the record, I had Phil's son Joey, my cousin, come out, and I gave him a broom, sweeping compound,
There you go.
and I told him got to do this whole warehouse, and it was like 30,000 square feet. It was a little bit of delegating because I didn't want to do it.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
I
That's
called in my
smart.
own favor for that one.
Here's a dust mask, and
Yeah.
the black schnots will go away in about a week.
Yeah. And he's like, can I wear headphones? And I go, yeah, I think you can wear headphones for this one. I think you're good.
Did you give him a mask?
Yeah, he had a mask.
Oh, all right.
Whether he wore it or not, I cannot confirm or deny, but it was provided.
So that's funny. So that's you brought up the idea of a mentor, your dad, and the fact you sort of alluded to it is like I always thought I had to have this like spectacular one mentor, and we've talked about this on the podcast, but you maybe have not heard it. But I like the idea of that you got to sort of advance to different people
Yeah.
that will teach you different things. So I have an innumerable, and as Nick said, I can't believe how many different people, and now my clients, I consider Nick a mentor with some of the things. He's younger than me, but when he says stuff and it triggers in my mind, it makes me excited to try something new. So it's very important, is you always have to have that mind, is that someone knows something better than you that can teach you.
There's a ton of smart people out there. You just got to take the things you like and that apply to you, and plug them into your mindset model, right? And so
Got to be coachable. You got to be accepting.
Well, you've got to have the burn yourself, right? And if you want to learn and you've got that passion to always like figure things out, and there's got to be a better way. That was really where I started. There always had to be a better way to do something, and whether it's technology or whether there's just sound practices or best practices out there, there's always a better way. And that's what I was always aiming at. I just wanted to always know the better way. How did you guys get from A to Z, and how did you do it so well and so efficient? When you see somebody work efficiently, when you see somebody work well, when you see a team function well amongst it, you can't help but ask yourself, how did you do that? And then you can't turn that off, right? You can't unsee that once you've seen it. So the human mind goes into this mode of, well, I want to know more. And if you want to feed your fire and fuel your fire, you got to ask questions. You got to be willing to talk to people. You got to be willing to step out and ask. And if you're not asking, then you're doing yourself a disservice.
You see that a lot with what you're doing?
What's that?
In terms of not being to the point where you're excited about something so much that you try to dig deeper into it?
No, I think that's been my whole experience so far, is the things that we do. I've been fortunate enough to work with people, take the time to tell me why they're doing what they do. And you see the shift, and, even if it's, pouring concrete, they do it a different way because they've been doing it for 30 years. So the first 20 years they did it, ABC, because this is how, the old adage, this is how we've always done it. And then somebody comes along and they go, well, if we do it a little bit of a different way, we're going to cut the time in half. You're going to have just as good of a product. And I've seen, when you see people do things in the expedited way and they do it differently, it definitely burns the young entrepreneur to, for the whole aspect of work of how can I do the same thing, not only to, my subs, our in-house personnel, but, every aspect of the company. So it's definitely a driving force, is trying to keep up with the times.
Yeah, I think it's a foundation ingredient to entrepreneurship.
Right.
Is wanting to see how you can do better.
Yeah.
And what you can do better, and let me see your mousetrap. I'll show you mine.
Yeah, exchanging ideas. We'll talk about that in a second. So that's the funny. I always say it. I'm glad you guys both brought this up. Is I make it. It's like a badge of honor when someone says, like another attorney or another person says, I've been doing this for 30 years and I've never seen someone do it this way. And sometimes it's angry, sometimes it's happy. It's like, oh my God, it's the greatest thing. Or sometimes like, oh, I go, I'm glad, because everybody sort of follows the manual. Here, let me open up, Legal for Dummies or whatever it is. And I want to feel that that's not right. There's always a different way to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, is there, if you're not an entrepreneur, are you seeing those things?
Well, I think in the public sector, I heard this all the time, is, well, why do we do it this way? Because that's just the way we've always done it, and we're not going to change it. But it goes back to what Nick said. I think a lot of people, they hear that and they have the burning to be like, well, I want to find a better way. But whether, it's a company you work for, whether it's public or private, I feel like if you're not in a position, change it because of institutionalized, procedures, I think it's a very hard thing to get out of. Whereas, maybe if you're in charge of, the team that you're working with, you can do the trial and error to find the best way to do it.
Yeah, I think you're right. The public sector has just got a lot of red tape and things they
Yeah.
have to do, right? And,
Yeah.
and I mean, we all know that our governments are not known for being very efficient, right? And then they have certain guidelines that they have to stick to, and all the regulatory bodies that are around them, and whether it's a water commission or utilities, and in your world, it's
Right.
you got to operate within this box. As we're in the private sector, even the public public company private sector or private enterprise sector, you've got the freedom to get creative, and
Yeah.
you've got the freedom to try and make the best delivery method or product or service to somebody. And because those clients and those customers are about making value for their shareholders and board of directors and their owners and family offices and those people, we got to bring value back to them, right? So how are we going to do that without compromising safety, without compromising quality, and all of those things? So you got to be innovative, and technology is one element of it, but just having inspiration and bringing mindset and creative thought to the process is where disruption happens.
Got it. That's very valuable. Right, community, pay attention. That's some good stuff. Rewind that little section there. Very good. So before we get into a wrap and ask a couple more questions before we wrap, here's a little bit of an interesting one. Are you polite when you're dealing with AI?
Am I polite? I love AI.
I know, but do you say please and thank you to ChatGPT?
I don't know that I've pleased and thank you.
You didn't.
I may have comically, but I don't think I have.
No.
I do like chat. I use chat a lot.
I use it so much. I'm so in love with chat.
But there's guys who use Gronk. They're on the fence.
What's Gronk?
Gronk is. Aren't you a Tesla owner?
I am, but
Yeah,
I don't know
that's
this.
That's Elon's version.
Oh, I gotta switch.
Come on.
I know I'm hated now as a Tesla owner, a multiple Tesla owner.
That's all right. You'll be all right.
Gronk?
Yeah, Gronk.
You're impolite to AI. I found that out too.
No, I'm not. I didn't say. You don't say.
He's
say good
neutral?
things. I don't swear at it.
Yeah, I
Help
stay
me.
away. I haven't explored the AI. I blame my dad for that.
Oh,
I'm going to change your
Bobby.
world before you leave today.
I
Bobby,
appreciate it.
I'm taking control of your son on this one.
Yeah.
What you have to
No,
get out.
I know.
You don't I don't know if you understand. You don't understand
No.
the
No, I
power
don't.
of it.
No, he doesn't.
I was just talking. It was the greatest thing. I had a nice conversation with Anne Marie's cousin. That's who I was talking to, Dan O'Donohue, about AI. He is so excited about it, and he has a bunch of jet pizzas, but now he's sort of implemented this AI into his programming. He is spiking because of it. Even me the other day, like I was tired. It was late night, and I started typing. I go, there's a provision that I type a million times through my head. I go, I just can't come up with it. So if you do proper, and we're gonna get a prompt engineer, Aaron Walls, that's when you get back from your lovely trip, get me a prompt engineer, please. And basically what it is you learn how to tell the AI exactly what you want. And some people are going, oh, well, that's gonna make it easy. But if you don't know, like if it's in your industry, you know how to describe this to such an extent that the AI can pull it and make it perfect. So within seconds, I had the paragraph that otherwise I would have been straining or
Yep,
looking through
no
other
doubt.
documents.
I mean, they use it for, we use it for correspondence. We use it for drafting letters and proposals, and it's an
Oh, I'm not
amazing tool.
against it. I haven't explored it enough to
You
my brother
you,
uses
you
it
need
all
to
the time.
leave
but
this
Robin, yeah.
podcast right away and do that,
Do it.
because
I will.
it's gonna save you so much time.
Mm.
And I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
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 it's-
no.
We can we can step on each other here, right?
Yeah, this is a
Absolutely.
podcast. Yeah.
I'll
It
step
gets
on-
edited, right?
Yeah, no.
No, they
I'm
can't
just
edit me
kidding.
stepping on your voice, your
No.
words. But
No, come on, Alec.
But
You
yeah.
got this going? All right, cool. All right, well that's good. So, but yeah, definitely do that. That should be your light bulb moment. Is get on
Absolutely.
ChatGPT, and it's simple as this too. It's like one of my friends said, "Hey, who was it? Oh, it was Pete Troost. Is one of the episodes on the podcast." Pete said he just said, "I'm going to go to Iceland. We have to still go to
Yeah.
Iceland despite Anne-Marie's hate for it." On it, Iceland. He goes, "Give me an itinerary." I think it was Pete. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He had the itinerary all set up. Maybe it was Bucky. Bucky. All the itinerary, and it set it up for him. And he had a beautiful trip. And then he was running behind, and he said, "Hey, I'm running behind. What's the decision? Which way?" And they gave it a couple options of what to cut out and what they didn't do, or what they didn't want to do. So as a result of that, it worked for just personal. You start off with something very
Right.
simple. And even my team has been a little bit hesitant. And I said, try it. Just do that letter and see what it produces. And happily, one of our teammates, Margaret, came and did a good job.
Yeah, you
with
could
it.
turn up the heat on it. You could dial it
Yeah.
down. You can make it empathetic. You can do a lot with it.
Did you hear that too? And I know it's about AI podcast, but it's very important because we have a novice AI guy. Is the fact that it wants to please you? Someone told me. So if you ask something, you can prompt it to say something to the effect of, "Listen, I don't care what the answer is," because then it gets to know you because it's your platform. It gets to know what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah, I think you got to be a paid subscriber.
Yes.
Right? So
Yes.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
pay the subscription.
Yep.
Pay it. It's worth
It's
its
worth
weight in
it.
gold
Yeah. It'll pay itself off in one day.
one day.
Yeah,
one day.
We'll have to talk after the podcast
For sure.
Yeah.
for
Well,
sure.
We don't want to talk about it now.
Yeah,
We're not going to bring it up on the screen, although we could do that in future podcasts.
that would
Yes.
be that would be.
As we evolve,
as we become wise guys, we can.
we gotta vision this out.
Joe
Right.
Fernard is not sure what to wear to the podcast. What should he wear?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, that's gonna be. We have a Facebook group now.
Oh.
So these are the type of questions.
Oh, really?
I gotta
There's a
write it down.
Oh, I'm gonna
Yeah.
haze that.
Yeah, well,
I'm
it's
totally.
It's not got a big following yet. We're working on
okay.
it.
It's gonna get huge now.
So, what should I wear? I like that.
What should I wear?
I don't know if I want to hear the answer because there'll be a bunch of
I think you
anonymous.
should.
Anonymous,
I
yeah.
think you should be specific. It's my 109th episode, and
Yeah.
there's some guys that might not shave and come into this. There's some guys that, well, how do I fit in and blend?
Yes.
You don't want to be overdressed. You don't want to be underdressed either.
Got to be perfect.
Some will look hungover, some won't. Some, it's gonna be some will have sun, some will have not.
Are we gonna have drink?
I don't know.
All right. Drinks, I should say.
Mhm.
All right. Before we sort of get into the wrap, I ask a couple questions. Now I want to start with you because it's very important. What are you struggling with now? What is like in your brain? What is like really eating at you as an entrepreneur of what next steps are? Is there anything that you wish it wasn't going on in your head, but it has to?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things. Like one is, it's credibility. I think being a young entrepreneur and you go into these companies and you're supposed to be, you not supposed to be, you are the problem solver for these people's issues. People get funny when there's, somebody in their mid-20s explaining how, pretty intense project is going to play out, how we're going to schedule it, the timeline and all of this. Just finding that credibility or gaining the trust and credibility with people, I think as a young entrepreneur, I think everybody goes through it, or I'm sure they do, but that's, always that nagging thought in the back of my head, I guess.
Dude, that's I started this business straight out of high school, right? I'm 19 years old and sell our first super large job at a natural gas plant. And we had the answers. We had the solution. We went in, documented. It was me. I say I had my dad, so I had some seniority with me, right?
Right.
So you get a little bit of street cred from bringing the old guy. And
he wasn't that old then.
and he wasn't that old then, right? So probably my age. Then,
Yeah, I think so.
And it was a national publicly traded company out of Houston. From that point on, like to your point, we as contractors, we own our customers' problems and we bring them their solutions. That's our job in the industrial segment. When you have that solution, and the one thing you got to remember is this: customers want proven performers. They want the proven people and teams within their companies, as well as the proven organizations who have done it. They're looking for the proven team. So if you've done it and you've got the resume, you've got the experience, you've got the know-how, all you have to do is articulate it, because that's what's going to sell it. And you know how old you are. I don't know I forgot how old you are, but I remember when you told me how old you are, I was floored, because you carried yourself so well and in a way that speaks seasoned. So that only lives in your mind for sure, because that's not what you're getting on the surface.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, so sort of come to terms with
So,
the fact
and
that
I've retired like 3 sets of customers, and I'm in my mid 40s. You know what I'm saying? When you start young in this business, you're going to see them come and go. And our young generation is inexperienced, right? So we're oftentimes sitting across the table from a buyer who's far younger than us and far less experienced. And if you think you're concerned, they're scared to death. They just want to keep their job.
Right.
And they need our help
Yep.
in solving this problem. Right? You got to think about that.
So is it preparation and
The other
confidence?
yeah, it's experience, it's confidence, it's having a plan, it's not going into something blind or bullshitting, but being genuine and having a genuine understanding and concern for your customer's problem and bringing them a real solution. Now, have we gone to customers and they say, clients, and hey, I've thought about your problem and you're going about this all wrong, and here's a plan that's going to help protect you and give you the best project delivery and execution and timeline and the best end result? Absolutely. And a lot of the time the client really appreciates you for that, and they give you a seat at the planning table, right? But there's times where they'll take your work product and they'll just try and give it to the next guy and say, hey, can you build this to me? There was a great idea, and so you're gonna experience that, and you got to know how to sort through that, and you got to be able to smell that and tease that out early on. But that's our business, right?
Yep.
And I want to work with people that want to work with me. I want to work with people that are genuine with me, and as an individual and as an organization, right? And those are the things that we're pushing out. So keep that in mind when you're looking at that. The other thing you got to remember is, in our business, when I started in this business, I was dealing with an old timer, and it was a handshake, boom, bid process. Sometimes it's negotiated, but you kind of have that personal and professional trust. Today's buying environment, the average decision is made by 5.4 people.
That's crazy.
You're lobbying your organization's success. Say, I got to make not one person a believer in the organization, me, my team, my solution, my value proposition. I got to make 3 of them.
No, it happens all the time.
Is that right?
Oh, absolutely.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so people are buying by committee.
Yep.
And that's the dynamic that's evolved. And there's nothing wrong with it. You just have to know the environment you're playing in. You have to know the environment you're conducting, and you have to understand the hot buttons, because of those, let's call it 5 or 6 people who are sitting at the table, every one of them has a different concern. You got to make sure you hit those concerns and that you're resolving those items in your proposal, in your presentation, in your project delivery, all of that.
Yeah, you got to account for those people. So you have to. It's almost like you have to be a people person, almost.
You
on
have
top
to.
of it.
We're a people business, and we're labor.
Very nice. Anything else bothering you there, young Frankie?
No, I don't think so. Not really.
No.
No, but
You're feeling strong?
Was this a bothering session? Was this?
No. That's
No, I don't. And just to clarify, I don't think it's bothering. I just think obviously, and what we do in confidence and whatnot. But like I said, just more back of the head nagging, where it's just, you want people to take you at your work, not at your age, because that's just what I feel sometimes people go to. Not, you put out a good product, the company has, like you said, a proven track record. They look at it and they go, he's selling it or whatever. But, that's that. And then just to touch back on what you said about the cot in the prison, that's also very true. They didn't, nobody ever said that. Everybody always says, it'd be nice you bought a company, you work for yourself. And I'm like, yeah, working 65, 70 hours a week and not sleeping anymore is that great. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you for taking some of your time to be on the podcast.
No,
away from those.
Thank you for having
I'm
me.
sure he has 92 voicemails and
Yeah, thanks.
180 emails and
Yeah, no, it'll be fun working till 9:00 tonight. Cut out this time.
Yeah, you'd be thinking about me.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Last time we go to happy hour together.
Yeah.
Well, that's the interesting thing too. Is you have to sort of understand that this is how it's going to be, and I think maybe early on in your career now is when you have these successes, when you talk to people and you're trying to build this trust and credibility, and you talk about those case studies, so to speak. This is what we did for somebody else, and here's our success stories. That usually cuts off the edge, at least in my experience. It cuts off the edge of, yeah, they've seen this before. They've
Right.
solved a problem similar. That is almost like 7/8 of the battle. I don't know why I picked
Absolutely.
that fraction, but that's where I find myself. It's like, and then when people start referring you to different things, you already have that head start. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents in terms of how I think you can get beyond some of the confidence in yourself.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So
I think you're off to a good start there, buddy.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
so you, Mr. Dubak,
You.
I want to figure out two things. Then we're going to go into the final wrap here. Is can you determine what was your biggest problem or biggest fear when you first started, or what was your setbacks, and then how is it different from that now in terms of what keeps you up at night?
I mean,
if it does?
fear and setbacks exist only temporarily, right? Until you've conquered it. And so, what's today's fear may not be yesterday's, and so
Yeah.
so it's as a small business, there's a lot of sleepless nights, right? And when you're small, you're trying to make it, and you remember the days of cash flow, right? Cash is king, and when you're a small business and you're trying to make it, cash flow is oxygen. If I don't have oxygen, I can't breathe. And there's employees to pay, there's light bills to pay, there's suppliers to pay. We grew up in the time, and this is in the business, is we made sure that our banks and lawyers were the Bill Fernaro, were the first to get paid, right? And then the employees, and then the kids can eat if there's anything left on the table.
Yeah.
And that's basically how this business is, right?
Yeah.
And that's the business of construction. It's also the business of a small business and entrepreneurship, and it's tough. It's a tough business when you're small, and the things that keep you up at night then it was survival,
Yeah.
right? And now you sit back, you laugh about it, but it was no laughing matter at the time.
No. And then now now that you've grown and have a successful business, there's got to be. I think we were talking about it the other day, right? Is a different dynamic in
It's
how
a
you deal with
completely
your
different
business.
dynamic, and there's not much that keeps me up at night,
Right.
And even the things that should, you try and not let, and you try and figure out. There's always a solution. There's always a problem. There's a problem out there that can be solved, and a lot of your problems come with people, and in terms of
We got to build that.
yeah,
thing
we
into-
got
we
to
gotta build that into the
freight train
podcast.
rolling through the
This is-
podcast here.
We have to tape that, Alec, and then if someone says something that's bullshit, we'll.
Yeah,
we'll put,
this might be a light bulb moment to edit.
Yeah, I think I want to leave that in.
Yeah. I digress. Oh, we were talking about what keeps you up at night, and Things
Yeah,
that
the
keep
problem. You're talking about problem solving.
problems and solutions.
Yeah.
There's not many problems in this business world that can't be solved. The issue is a lot of those problems come with people that are met with emotion,
Yeah.
right? And if you don't
Separate.
meet a problem with emotion and you look at objectively instead of subjectively, it's a lot easier to base your plans or solutions on fact-based plans based on objective information, not subjectiveness or emotion. And that's the one thing we talk about at our company is just that. Is we try and look at things objectively, not subjectively. Try and meet things with uh, um, you know a clean perspective and rationale.
Save the best for last, Nick Dubak.
What else?
That was great.
Is
So
that it? That's how we finish?
no.
That's it?
That
We
was
just quit
beautiful.
here? That's
Well,
good.
you might have one more chance.
And
so,
wrap.
so tell me, do you have any books, quotes, or anything else to add to our bright community that they would benefit from hearing?
The book I don't think is super relevant, but a quote that I like.
That's a defeatist statement.
It is.
Go ahead.
I want to know what book it was.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
It's well, the book's called "The Desert and the Sea." It's about a journalist who was captured off the Somali coast and held for like 977 days captive until he was rescued. But
Is that a real
yeah, it's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Yeah, it's a real book. Real, really happened to
They
the guy
think
in
the
real
payday
life.
was coming. They held out for 900 days.
Yeah, they wanted
Wow.
like $3 million, $5 million, and
The price went down over time.
he just ended up rescuing him. But for me, it's perspective. Like like my day's bad. I'm like, but it's not as bad as the guy who was captured and living on a boat for 3 years with Somali pirates.
I love it. I don't love that he's
no.
captured by pirates, but I like the perspective.
Yeah, and then a quote from talked about movie quotes earlier. It's from one of the Equalizer movies, Denzel.
Yeah.
And he goes, if you're gonna pray for rain, you're gonna have to deal with the mud. So it's the same thing as like perspective. When you set goals or when you go after something, you have to realize what's on the backside of that. So I try to keep that in mind when I set a goal or I go after something. I'm like, this is what I'm going after, but when I get it, you got to be prepared for what comes with it.
Got it.
Yeah.
I love it. Your turn, Nick.
Am I quoting books, movies?
Quote, book,
I don't know.
or just a piece of
Yeah,
advice.
yeah,
Or
my advice is, be passionate about what you do, bring 100% every day, and or more, and the one thing that the people don't realize is in the world of business, they oftentimes live in chaos, and we control most of it,
yeah.
right? And so don't let the chaos control you. You got to control it. And that's my piece of advice. And it's in our direct power, influence, and control most of the time to change the outcome if we really want to.
I love that because I'm a big chaos guy. Why do I love chaos so much? Insane. Anyway, that was lovely. You outdid yourself. Good job.
And I'm not sweating.
Not at all. So I'll come back to you guys in a second. So I think this is an awesome format. I'm so excited, and thank you, Nick Dubak.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alec, for providing us with this lovely studio at Dewire in LaGrange. I'm looking forward to doing this again, and I'm really anxious to see how this is all comes out. But we had so many light bulb moments from the very beginning, and I was very impressed, Frankie, for your introductory comments. I'm going to go and listen to that, and Coco's going to be very proud, and your dad,
Yeah.
be very proud. And he started, and we are sort of ended it this way: is that be a problem solver. Take that complex situation and make sure that that complex situation is solved, and your clients will love you for it. I learned how to hightail it. I'm looking forward to
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
graduating
Absolutely.
from the señorita.
I'll,
And as entrepreneur, I think the idea here is I'm really glad we got to this, and we saw the passion in Nick when he started talking about, the trades are overlooked, but they're the most important. They're like the heart and soul of our economy, our world, and our growth. And I think it's really important. I know it's really important that our educators also come back and start thinking about this, and let's teach these things. Let's get that industry where the current administration is focusing on that. But you can't just focus on that without the education and bringing these things up, because College educations are great. It's a starting point. It's the dominant aspect of our lives. But guess what? It seems to be changing. Maybe the winds are changing. I hope that they are. I like the concept of drive, vision, and inspiration. Those are three important aspects. And listen to the podcast again about that. Is you need all three in order to be inspired as an entrepreneur. Think outside the box. I learned something new today about servant leadership. Listen to that part of the episode. My bad, you're good. It's really, really important aspect of our business model for all of us as business owners. And there's always a better way in your business. There's always ways to improve, to become more efficient. And if you don't do that, if you don't try to do that, you will die as a business. Change is always good. Be prepared. Be authentic. And then the tail end of this really got me excited. There's always a solution. Deal with things objectively. Look at perspective. And control the chaos. Don't let the chaos control you. So I've enjoyed this format. I can't wait to do it again. You guys were both awesome to deal with.
This was fun.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll do it again. And we'll see you next week for another positive day of illuminating thoughts and light bulb moments. All right. What do you think, guys?
It's a wrap.
Thank you.
Let's
It's
call
awesome.
it.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the day.